Welcome to the Stronger Tides Podcast, the podcast for small business entrepreneurs and corporate executives to learn more about increasing their client or employee retention through a group cruise program. Ready to drop anchor? Here's your host, travel advisor Rita Perez.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Rita here. It is a wonderful week. At least this week is starting off not as stressful as last week was. I'm sure most of us were going through like a roller coaster of emotions. I know it was a worldwide effect also, but thankfully that craziness is over, at least for now. This week I wanted to come at you so last week the cruise ship ban was lifted, so now the cruise lines that want to sail out of the American ports are doing all the work that they need to do to go ahead and get that started. This week, though, I want to talk about some of the places that you're able to travel to now. And I am sure there's at least one of you who is so itching to travel now. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm sure you've probably taken vacation time off, but without like being able to like actually travel and go see the world because it's been so difficult this year, it is like the itch that it's like this undescribable itch. Like I need to go. But there's also, of course, concern of where you can go and what the protocols are and how safe it really is. So for those of you who are tired of being in the office or tired of working from home or tired of working in your shop and really need a new change in place, this episode is for you. While not everywhere is open, there are a few places around the world that are open just with certain stipulations, which I guess that's nothing new for 2020. Another caveat is that the Department of State still has high warnings against many countries, even the ones that I'm going to mention to you today. And it's different levels. So this is something that we can talk about whenever you're ready to go ahead and start travel. But it is still very much a travel at your own risk type of situation. Even though like that sounds really scary, and you'll hear it as I'm going through these different places. I know travel advisors who traveled and they have been totally fine, myself included. But I have stayed stateside, which is the number one. You can, of course, visit your country, the United States. Shocker, but yes, depending on what your home state is and where you're visiting, you can visit across the country right now. State parks are hot spots right now, and cities nearby have been selling out. I don't think anybody would have ever anticipated that, like saying that sentence, or even there being so much demand right now for the states because people do want to travel closer to home. That's no shocker. And people, if you are not comfortable at least with traveling on a plane or going outside of the country because of those advisories, at least taking a road trip somewhere close by is an amazing trip. I have also seen lots of people going to the mountains, so like the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Smoky Mountains. Now, Hawaii has even started to open up some of the islands. So if you're looking for something tropical, but it's stateside, Hawaii is perfect. And of course, there are stipulations there too. The next part of the world would be the Caribbean. So we're not cruising, but we can fly to the Caribbean. More and more Caribbean islands are opening up. Puerto Rico is ready for visitors and at least does not require a passport, so winning. One of my colleagues last week visited St. Lucia, and that was a dream. Jamaica is also open, but I harness caution with Jamaica because they keep changing their rules. Closer by, the Bahamas are so ready to welcome you back. And there are more islands open or opening soon. So if you're curious just let me know and I'll go ahead and I'll shoot you the latest news that I know. Also Bermuda in the Atlantic is open, but they do require a fee for visiting. And that was a new one for me, that places are requiring fees to go visit. And I think it's really just to process a bunch of paperwork. The number 3 area in the world is Central America. The most notable are Mexico and Costa Rica. Now, in Mexico, you can travel to either side, so you can go to Cancun on the east or Cabo on the west, whichever one's closer to you, or if you want to go to the side you haven't been before. Now, I've seen many of my colleagues safely travel not just once, but multiple times to Mexico, and they all have rave reviews. The all-inclusive resorts are capping their occupancy. I think I've heard like maybe 40% or 50%, so lots of space. And not only that, but visitors, I've heard countless times that they feel Mexico is much safer and much cleaner than here in the States. Now, I did tell that to my uncle, and he's like, what? And I was like, let me clarify, this is the touristy part. So this would be specifically to Cancun or Cabo, depending on which side you wanted to go to. But those touristy areas are the safer and the cleaner areas right now. Now, Costa Rica had been starting to open up for American visitors, but they just recently even more started opening up for all American visitors, so it doesn't matter which state. And that will also be a nice alternative to Mexico. So Mexico does have a lot of nice different luxury all-inclusives, but if you're wanting a little bit slower of pace, I feel like that's Costa Rica, even with some of the adventure types. Costa Rica is just a place I don't think many people have gone to as well. Mexico's kind of, let's go for spring break, and then this, and then that, and then this. The number 4 area is Europe. I know this might shock you. Now, most of Europe is closed off to non-essential travel still. That should not shock you. Croatia had been fully open to Americans, but with increasing cases over there, they have become a little stricter on policies. You can still travel, but you will need to be tested prior to visiting. Hey! Interested in getting an actual numbers comparison of a land retreat versus a cruise retreat? You know, honestly, when I was putting this document together, I couldn't even believe the great difference between the numbers. Visit StrongerTidesPodcast.com to be added to my weekly email list and get the download now. Back to the show. Turkey is also open, and you don't need a COVID test prior to visiting. And that is the same for Mexico. You do not need a COVID test prior to traveling. Now, I had one of my friends visit Turkey a couple months ago, and I was like shocked. Turkey is not one that I hear too much high on the bucket list level, but I mean, we're gonna go travel where you can right now, and any part of the world is acceptable. 5 is Africa. This is probably the most exciting part of the world that you can visit right now for me. I've seen travelers visit the southern part of Africa on safari and then enjoying a few beach days. Divine. The best part is, and obviously not that many people are traveling right now, that's also the best part. So you really have a unique and more exclusive experience in the savannas. The travel advisor that I know had visited there had said, or had noted from previous visits and from what the guides were telling her, is that there's just not a lot of jeeps out like normally would be on the savannas. So really, this is the time. Like, if you have the time, if you have the finances to go on this type of trip, Africa is like the must do to do right now before the rest of the world starts opening up. I know another group of travelers right now who are in Uganda having a glorious time. Their pictures are beautiful. Someone described it as, if I were to imagine the Garden of Eden in my mind, Uganda is what it would look like. Just life-changing, really life-changing, guys. And they will also be heading on a gorilla trek later this week. So I just spilled out a lot to you guys. Are there more countries open? Yes, but I didn't want to inundate you too much, even though I'm pretty excited, if you couldn't tell, for the ones that I did mention. Now, this is not freely traveling as we used to. Of course, you have to wear masks, but many countries, especially the ones that I had mentioned, unless I noted it, do require COVID testing prior to visiting, a health screening and or application, a temperature check at the airport, and or some now are requiring you to purchase travel insurance, which, if I've trained you right, you should be wanting to purchase right now anyways. And if you weren't sure, I can book travel to any of these fabulous destinations, especially since we aren't cruising now. I know I talk a lot about cruising and love cruising and the amazing benefits about cruising, but it's just not in our sights this year, especially cruising from the Americas. But alas, there is actually a luxury cruise line that just started sailing the Caribbean from Barbados. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know too. Now, I would love to help you plan any much needed getaway, no matter how far or how close. I know we all need a little break. So if you're feeling comfortable in going right now, let's have a chat. I know not everybody is, and really this decision is so fluid. I know for my New Hampshire trip in September, I booked the ticket a month in advance, and I don't normally wait so soon to book a ticket. That's just the way that the world is right now. So if you're ready and you want to go like 2 weeks from now or 4 weeks from right now, we can make a plan. Holiday travel is going to be a little bit more trickier just because of the obvious. And believe it or not, some of these places are selling out where we can go because, one, it's so limited where we can go, and two, where the new places that people want to visit now are just not like the touristy destinations, because you have us here in Orlando, Florida, where of course, like, it's no surprise that we've been pretty high up on the COVID list, and then California has pretty tough restrictions, same with New York. If you have any questions, want to know some of the rules of some places that you'd like to go, hit me up, send me an email, text message, and let's chat about the possibilities. Even if it's a last minute holiday trip, let's do it, because it is so important to our mental health to get something different happening in our lives. And I say something different even if it's just a nature walk in your backyard. You got to do something different. If travel is at something different, you know who to reach out to. Have a great week, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Stronger Tides podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast. And if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating or a share with your colleagues. Find us on social media at Rita Ventures Group Cruising and online at ritaventures.net. Until next time, happy sailing.